All right, so positive messages coming to you. Pick a card. Message number one, positive messages are you're finally going to decide what it is you want, where it is you're going, and what you have decided moving forward. Positive messages, you're finally deciding something on your life. Let's just see, when was that? Why is this stupid thing zoomed in so much? Sorry. Seconds in. Okay. And you've got the strength finally to move forward. And you've really just decided that now is the time. Now is the time to act. And you're going to do it. You've got some extra boost of confidence. And you finally decided that it's time, you know. You're feeling more in control than ever in your life, and you know where you're going, you know. So the cheat day, that also indicates that, number one, you're going to feel more, you know, excited about breaking the rules to some degree. So you know where you're going, what you're doing, you have the strength to move forward, but also you're going to break the rules a little bit more. Maybe you've restricted yourself too much. Maybe you've frustrated yourself with that. And, you know, you're going to harness some of this devil energy in a good way, like not in an illegal, scary way, obviously, but like in a, I don't always have to follow the norm. Sometimes I can fulfill those dark desires as long as they're not hurting anybody, obviously. And sometimes I don't always have to be this good, saintly individual. Sometimes I can be a little bad, you know. So number one, it's about like you implementing some plan or idea you've had for a long time and being a little naughty. I don't know what that means for you. If it means eating more chocolate cake, or it means going on a spontaneous trip if you can where you live. I don't know, because there's restrictions in different parts of the world, unfortunately. Or if it means one day not wearing makeup, like I'm not wearing it today, you know, like whatever it means, that's what it is. It's like you're going to do like cheat days more. You're just going to be like, you know what, I'm done being frustrated with this kind of shit. And I'm going to put my plans into motion of how I want to live my life. And it's going to be this way. Okay. So number two, message number two. You are on the brink, your positive message is you are on the brink of a positive change. You finally realized your worth and your value. You know, my channel is all about boosting up self-esteem of women and also men, but mostly women because that's what watches my channel. Thank you for coming, Black Magic Woman. And thank you for watching my channel. I appreciate new people. I always like to see new names. So there is a positive change that you're embarking on, and you're finally realizing your value and your worth. And that's going to start to attract more prosperity to you, and cracked open, you becoming more and more yourself and embracing yourself is going to help you manifest more and more and more prosperity for yourself. So you're going to start to see a windfall of prosperity because you put yourself first, because you realize your own value and importance, and because you really understood what you deserve in life, and you let go of the bad shit, or you're letting go of the bad shit, and you're saying, you know what, that can come crashing down. I can get over this dark night of the soul or this phase in my life, and I can embrace this beautiful magic that I can use to create good in my life. Regardless of the world, what the world around me tells me, regardless of the fear mongering we're experiencing right now. And yes, the pandemic's real, but there's a lot of fear mongering also going on. Regardless of all of that, I can create good for myself, for my family, whatever, for my friends, for my, for me, you know, I can do that. This is what I'm saying you would be saying to yourself, not me. So it is possible. And I'm putting myself first, and I'm realizing my value come hell or high water. You see the tower came out twice in two different cards. So you may be going through something that shook things up in your life or will shake things up in a big way, but releasing that, moving on and saying, okay, what's next? What's next will help you instead of staying in that stuck energy of, oh my God, what just happened? Or maybe it just feels like the world in itself is going through a tower moment in a way, number two, because, you know, look what we've dealt with the pandemic for this long time. And finally, you're saying, you know, I know that this is going on. I know that this is happening, but I'm not going to allow it to control every aspect of my life anymore. It can be that, or it can be something in your personal life. It doesn't have to be what's happening in the collective with the pandemic. It could be whatever is what I'm saying. Okay, so have hope, because there will be growth. There will be positive new beginnings. There will be a windfall of prosperity, abundance, despite this tower moment. Okay, number three. Message number 3, what's going on for message number 3? You got a bunch of cards, message number 3. So number 3, you're going to start to see things happen in divine order that you've been wanting for some time. Positive news is that you're going to allow yourself to surrender and flow with the divine feminine more and more. And this is going to yield offers to you, or people coming forward and trying to help you with something you've needed help with, or you prayed about, or you did intentions on. And you're going to start to see the direction becomes more and more clear in your life. You're going to get into this, or you were into this dark night of the soul, kind of like number 2 was. All 3 of these numbers can also resonate, or maybe none of them do, just to let you guys know. If they don't, maybe you don't resonate with my channel anymore, that's okay. But sometimes all 3 numbers can resonate too, and that's great. That means you really resonate with my channel. And you've had this dark night of the soul, maybe where you had to sort out your emotions and you were very uncertain about things. And, you know, then you let yourself, or you're giving yourself the time to relax with the wine after being left out in the cold or feeling very downtrodden. And there is a celebration that's going to come as a surprise that's you're on the brink of. It could be money, but more than number 2. Number 2, I see it as material wealth. Number 3, I see it as something that could lead to material wealth, but it's more so like a celebration of life that yields positive opportunities to you in love, money, career, some passion you have, some opportunity is going to be presented to you because you allowed yourself this time to relax despite this energy that was going on around you, despite feeling dragged down by some circumstances in your life or the world, despite, feel like something, sorry about that. It felt like something bit me. I don't know. My window was open and I don't know if the mosquitoes are out yet. But despite those things going on in the world, you've had this time, you've given yourself this time to really relax and say, you know, even because of that, even what's going on in the world, even though what's going on in my life, I'm just going to relax in whatever way I can. Maybe it's literally drinking wine, but that has helped you to start manifesting this rebirth of sorts, or this flow where you finally are creating more, you're seeing more opportunities come to you, you really see the direction more clearly now, or you will, and you will be given an offer of some sort that's to celebrate, that's going to come kind of out of nowhere, waking up and smelling the coffee like a surprise, because you were just in that, you know, Abraham Hicks calls it the vortex, like that law of attraction creating energy. So you got into that energy and then it was like, oh wow, what a nice surprise. You know, so now we're going to talk about gray rock, and I promised to do this video publicly because I think it's important. Patreon, the next 2 videos for this month, well, it's going to be more like 5 videos, but that's only because I did earth, air, water, fire, so that's 4 videos. And then I'm going to release the spell for the full moon on the 28th. I'm going to be releasing that on the 28th for you guys to follow along with that. Why is that stupid thing not going up? Sorry about that. And those are going to be the last videos on Patreon. But for this YouTube, I'm going to be doing a reading on the full moon, and I promised gray rock before the end of the month. So narcissism. I have a video about narcissism talking about, you know, prior, my most serious relationship I had where I dealt with somebody with narcissistic tendencies and how to deal with it. And I've had extended family members with narcissistic tendencies that I've identified. So I've had a lot of experience with narcissists. I've even had a friend who I was one of their favorite people. You know, now when you're a narcissist's favorite person, you're treated better than a regular person treats you. So if you're going to be friends with a narcissist, make sure they're your favorite, that you're their favorite person, because if not, have fun. That's all I have to say. So I have a lot of personal experience with narcissists. In addition to that, I used to counsel narcissist individuals who were previous dealers and were incarcerated and then released from incarceration. I was counseling them. A lot of them had narcissistic or sociopathic tendencies, and not because they didn't do like murder or anything like that. And if they did, it was like more like along the lines of manslaughter. It wasn't like, you know, the Ted Bundy kind of shit. I didn't counsel anybody. Well, I had one client who had that kind of tendency, and he was removed from my case list after a while because he was freaking everybody out. But yeah, I actually have had one like that. But the majority of my clients, it was more like previous, if they had been involved in something like that, it was like previous gang related activity. So it wasn't like they're going to do that to you type of thing. But they did have narcissistic and sociopathic tendencies, because in order to want to destroy that many people's lives through selling substances previously in your life, you a lot of times do have that mentality, like you're better you can get away with this type of thing. And narcissistic and sociopathic individuals tend to be like that. Narcissists, on the other hand, are easier to deal with because they are less good at reading people than sociopaths are. And so good luck. If you ever come across a person who's sociopathic, my advice to you is stay very, very far away from them because they are extremely emotionally damaging and can be physically damaging. Not all the time physically damaging, though. Emotionally damaging most of the time. Most of them don't kill people. But they're just very damaging because they get a kick out of manipulation. They can see when you try to do things like gray rock, they'd be able to pick up on. So I'll tell you this right now. This is going to work more with a narcissistic individual, which is more common, thank God, than a sociopathic individual. And I do have to also say this is as a life coach tarot reader. I'm doing this explanation. It is not as a therapist, though I have previous therapist experience. If you want to watch an actual therapist and quote her as a therapist, go to like Dr. Ramani's page on YouTube, who does all of her videos as a PhD psychologist. I do have a background in it, but because this is mixed with tarot, I cannot say I'm doing this as a therapist for legal reasons. So while I have a background in it, and I just told you my experience, I will never do a session for you as a therapist. I am not doing this video as a therapist, okay? All right, so yes, I've had a lot of experience with narcissists, and I've used this before. And not that I don't want you guys to think all my experiences have been terrible, because after that instance that I had, not to give TMI, but the last person I was involved with, which was a couple of years ago, was extremely good to me. And we broke up for other reasons. I'm not going to go into that. It's not really, my personal life isn't that much people's business anyway. But I learned from the narcissistic relationship, which is what people should do. They need to learn, not keep dating narcissists after that, right? So sometimes people break up because of location, things like that. It has nothing to do with them getting along. That's what happened after I was with the narcissist with a different individual, which was actually quite a good experience. So what happens is you either continue the narcissistic cycle and continue dating narcissists, or you learn from it and you go as much away from that as you can, and the next people that you date or you be friends with, or family is a little different, you're kind of stuck with them. But if it's friends or dating, you learn, and then you look at other qualities like contrasting that you would look for in a friend or a partner. So you definitely can learn from it. And it is a learning lesson for a lot of empaths to teach others or to help their life to go through dealing with narcissists. So when you're dealing with a narcissist and I've actually done this with extended family members because you can't always get away from family. But when you're dealing with them, what you do is, like, when they're in like a fit or something, either when they're telling you they didn't say something that they did say, and they're insisting like 1 minute ago, a certain thing that a narcissist will do, for instance, is like, I'll give you an example. They yelled earlier, and then you said, why did you yell? And then they'll say, I didn't yell. And then they'll keep getting mad because you said they yelled instead of addressing the fact that they yelled. They'll get mad that you said they yelled. I didn't yell. I didn't yell. So they'll keep focusing on the yelling aspect. So instead of continuing to go with them, because they don't take accountability. If you watch my first video, they don't acknowledge when they do things. They try to say they didn't and gaslight you and tell you it didn't happen. Then you turn around and you say, oh, it's beautiful outside today. Or did you see that new thing on TV the other day? It's kind of like distracting them. And 9 chances out of 10, it works. You basically find the most neutral, bland thing possible that you can, and you distract them with that so that they then will talk about that and not the thing they're upset about. But don't distract them with anything emotional, obviously, because that will make them more emotional. So try to find something bland, like neutral, like a piece of clothing they would have liked to show them, or whatever that they talked about before, or like the news, something neutral with the news, like the weather. Something very neutral. You don't want to distract them with political topics, or obviously, or anything like that. And then you just start talking about it. And another technique for gray rock is if they pry into your personal life, because they like to use that as ammunition against you. Like, oh, so how's the job search going? Or, oh, so how's your relationship doing? Because they don't just ask because they're curious. A lot of times narcissists ask so that they can then rub things in your face or say certain opinions they have about your life to put you down. So like a good example I've dealt with a female narcissist, I've actually dealt with There's more male narcissists in this world, but personally, I've dealt with probably about equal male and female narcissists just because that's my experience. But there's actually more people, I think, who are female who are bipolar or borderline tendency, and then male narcissism, because narcissism has to do with the ego. Not that we don't have female narcissists. So the female narcissist, for instance, here's an example like, so how is it going in your relationship, when they're clearly kind of, they don't want to admit it, but it's like kind of jealous of the relationship because it seems like it's doing well. And so if you say something positive about it, they'll come back with saying, well, you're still in that phase now. It won't last forever. Like whatever, like maybe you're in the beginning stages of a relationship. I'm giving an example. And then they say, well, it won't last forever, because they have to put that down to feel better. Basically, that's an example. And so you could distract by saying, oh, it's doing good, and then change the subject right away. That's gray rock, but change it to something boring again, or something neutral, like, yeah, and it's going okay. And like, we just went shopping the other day, actually. And you know what we saw when we were shopping? And then just talk about the aspect of the thing you saw when you were shopping, not the relationship to them, so that they can't get information to use as ammunition later, because that's what they do. They get information to use against you later. So like if you said, I'm really in love with this person, and I can't believe it. I think they might be the one. I don't really ever talk like that, but let's just pretend I do. And I can't believe how amazing they are, and oh my God. And you were to tell the narcissist all of that, then when things start, if things start going south in your relationship, or you have a fight, maybe you're getting along, but you just have a fight, then they'll say, well, I knew that was going to happen. And that's why you can't trust people. And then they start saying all these negative things to you about it. They have ammunition for the future of them saying that. So instead, you don't say, gushing about this person. You have to hold back with narcissists. If you know this person is narcissistic, you hold that back. You just say, yeah, we went out the other day, and then talk about what you did, and then start changing the subject into the topic of what you did. Like, we went to the store the other day. We went shopping together for clothes, and then you can say, oh, did you know that this is like a new style out now? And then start talking about the stuff, whatever it is. I'm not saying you have to talk about clothes. Or we went and got groceries the other day. Make something up. I don't know. And then, yeah, I'm trying to eat healthier, and then talk about foods, whatever, something dry. Or we went out the weather was so great. Weather is like the best one to use, because how can somebody hold weather against you? That's something that doesn't have to do with anybody. So the weather was really, it was great, and I just loved it outside. And did you know it's supposed to be unusually warm the rest of the year? And totally spin it into a new conversation for them. So that's the way to do it. And you will come across these individuals in your life at least one time. So this is an important video, because you'll have to use this. And even if you're not sure they're narcissistic, if you feel like they're giving you toxic responses to things, like they always jump to the negative outcome for your life. Like, it's one thing if you jump to a negative outcome in your own life, that might be depression or something associated with that. And again, I can't say this as a therapist, but I can say as a life coach, maybe you're sad. Maybe you're really sad, and so you jump to the negative on your own life. But if somebody else is doing that about your life, that's an indication of them being narcissistic. Because why do they need to put you down and put you in that energy? It may be that they're depressed, and so they're doing that for everybody else too. But the distinction will be, if they're depressed, they'll do that for themselves too. If they're narcissistic, they'll do it for you, but they're better. So, oh, it's not going to last. But then when they talk about themselves, I'm always doing so great in my relationship or my job or whatever it is. But years isn't going to last. That's how you can tell the difference. So if it's always negative about them and everybody else, that could be something like depression, bipolar, or something, whatever. Talk to a doctor. I can't say for sure, but it may be. And if they're doing it about you only, like it's always got to be a negative response, but their life is so amazing, they're probably a personality disordered person or somebody who's got some issues. So that's a very effective technique. So thank you guys for coming. And I think that that's the only thing that I wanted to say, because I have some things to do. And Rebecca, if you see this, I'm going to do your bonus question. And I'm trying to remember who else did I have to do something with. Marianne. whoever else that I said I had to do something for, I'm going to do it today. If I said it was going to be sent to you today, if I said I was going to do it for you and your other people, it doesn't mean it's today. But if I said today, it'll be done, it will be done today. So I think there's 3 people I told that to. But anyways, I'm going to go check my email again. Oh, there's some new people on here. Thank you, Gigi, for coming. I appreciate you guys. Black Magic Woman. I noticed some new names. April T, as always. Luann, as always. Anna, as always. Thank you for anybody who's in, one of my supporters that have been here, or my viewers that have been here for quite some time, or new people. I appreciate everybody who comes to the channel. So I think that's it for today. I just wanted to share Gray Rock with you guys so you can use it. It's effective in the workplace, especially because it's like a polite way of diverting conversation. And that's it. And if you have been involved in a relationship with a narcissist, or you are currently, don't be down on yourself. Use this as a learning lesson to go out with the opposite qualities of the next person. Use it as a learning. That's what I did. Use it as a learning lesson. Maybe you'll have one narcissistic individual and one more. Sometimes what happens is one more right after to test you. Are you really done with this? The universe will do that, or God, Goddess, whatever you want to call it. That actually happened to me. What will happen is you'll be with a narcissist, and then right after you'll date another one, but it will be very short-lived because you'll pick up on the stuff right away, and then you'll dump them. But the first narcissist was longer term, and then the second one will come to test you. Are you really done with this? Did you really identify what the problem was? And then when you get rid of that second one, a lot of times you'll never go out with one again as far as dating goes. Friendships, coworkers especially, can't really control that. Family members, you can't really control that a lot of times. So you just have to really use Gray Rock all the time. But personal relationships and friendships, you can absolutely control who comes into your life. So if you're involved with a narcissist, or you are in the future, don't hang on and hope they'll change. They won't. Get out. And then if you find another narcissist afterwards, just think to yourself, what is this teaching me? What are the qualities? What do these people have in common that I need to look for the opposite of? Critically think of why you're choosing those people. Because I'm not saying it's somebody's fault for being emotionally abused, but there is a reason why you're allowing individuals like that into your life. Maybe you need more filtering. Unfortunately, sometimes nowadays we have to filter people even more. We have to be more strict with how we filter people. Maybe that's the problem. And I can speak from personal experience, so I'm not putting anybody down. It was years ago. It's not recent, but still, I had the experience. Many women I know had the experience, and a few guys. Learn from it. Look at it objectively, critically. How did I play a part in this? Not how did you deserve narcissistic abuse, but who am I choosing? Why am I giving these people excuses? Why did I choose another person similarly? And what's the opposite of that I can look for next time? That's a good way. And very strict boundaries also is a good way to filter them out, because they don't like boundaries. So when you have a lot of no's, it'll filter them out. So when you have a lot of no's for certain things you won't do or don't like, and somebody is able to still stick around with those no's, that's the right person. And I'm not saying to be like a complete bastard or bitch or something, whether you're male or female, but it's about being a bitch or a bastard in a good way, like putting yourself first, like a king and queen, not like better than people, but of your own world. So if you used to be into, because I had a couple commenters on here and people who sent me emails saying, why do I keep dating narcissists? This is the third one, and blah, blah, blah. And like, what's wrong with me? It's not what's wrong with you. It's what's wrong with your boundaries and what's wrong with your choosing. It's not you. And you don't make things in life about you, because that's just lowers your self-esteem to say, I'm no good. I only am with narcissists. Nobody loves me, blah, blah, blah. That's not going to do you any good. What's going to do you good is to look at it objectively and say, my picker is off and my boundaries are off. That's the problem. Narcissists can sniff poor boundaries from a mile away. And that's why a lot of times people will go through narcissistic individuals or meet narcissistic individuals like upwards at the oldest, usually to their early 30s, but not, I've spoken to women on the chat line that I work on who are in their 40s or 50s dealing with it. And I feel sad that they haven't learned the lesson earlier, but generally when you see people learn that lesson and get it out of their life, it's at the oldest, by their early 30s, they've learned the lesson. I would hope so. Not all the time, though. I mean, that kind of sucks. But regardless of what age the person is, learn the lesson. Don't beat yourself up about it. Do not beat yourself up about it. I was there years ago. I did that too. I would never do that now. I'd be like, what the fuck is wrong with that person? I wouldn't say what's wrong with me. You have to, and it's not that I'm perfect and unflawed. It's what's wrong with your boundaries and your picking. That's how you have to look at it. That's what I did years ago, and I broke the cycle. You look at what is wrong with how you are picking people, and what am I not saying no to that I really should deep down. Okay. So a good example, a woman contacted me on the chat line. I can use examples as long as I won't say names and descriptions of people to, violate their privacy. But this is on the chat line outside of this channel that I do. It's not a customer on here. And she called. She was like in her mid 40s, I think, or late 40s. I don't remember. She called into the chat line and she said, I'm trying to give you guys good examples. And she said, he won't label the relationship. And I thought she was in her 20s because the way she was talking, I was like, not to judge, but usually when you hear that, it's like somebody who's like 23, because that's becoming more and more common for people millennial and younger, which is like, I would say 39 and younger is the generations that started that. But she was like around 45, 46, something like that. And she said that she was with this person for like 5 years and they wouldn't label it. So this is something women of all ages deal with, is what I'm trying to say. And men too, some men. And she was saying, he just keeps saying he's not fully into it, but he loves her. And then he would say things like, why do you always pick fights with me? Because I'm not home on time. Like, they lived together, but he wouldn't label it as a girlfriend even. That's the kind of shit he was doing. So this guy was majorly manipulating her. He was saying he'd live with her. She was good enough to basically, I'm sorry, like have sex with every day, but she's not good enough to label as even a girlfriend. She's in her 40s dealing with a guy like this. And meanwhile, he was like pushing 50, behaving like this. Believe me. I still remember this conversation. And she was saying he won't label it and blah, blah, blah. And like, I just don't. And the dude was manipulating her so bad. Every time he went somewhere and she would confront him about it, he would then say, why do you start fights with me, when she was just trying to approach an honest conversation? And then, why don't you just leave things as they are? I'm good with how they are, even though he was doing one thing, saying another, like living with somebody that should be more committed, but then turning around telling her she wasn't even his girlfriend. He wasn't ready for the title. That's highly manipulative behavior, because it's doing one thing, saying another all the time, and then confusing somebody and blaming it on them. He was shifting the blame to her, which is what narcissists do, and saying, what's your problem? Why do you have a problem with this? Why are you complaining about it? And yes, what she did wrong, this is the moral of what I'm saying. Well, the only thing she did wrong is he's wrong for his manipulation. But she's wrong for allowing it to happen and go on so long and not putting a stop to it and saying, get the fuck out of my place. Basically, you don't get to live with me then. If things are only going to be on your terms, goodbye. That's what she did wrong. The lack of the boundaries. And the picker, choosing to immerse her energy with a man that long. So that is an example right there that I've recently heard. It can happen at any age. I learned the lesson by the time I was 33. And it's been going on 5 years now, because I'll be 38 in September. But I learned that lesson early enough. Well, I was around 32, I think. I don't remember. It was around 32, 33. I learned it early enough. Some people don't learn it early enough. Some people would think, they're dealing with it. They come across somebody like that in their 60s. I mean, it can happen. It doesn't mean you're a bad person, no matter what your age, that's happened to you. But you have to be strong. It's the strength card that you need for that. You have to be able to look at your boundaries and say, what do I not tolerate? What do I say no to? And what do I say a big yes to? All right. Another person who said this she said something I said exactly to actually when I was working in therapy to one of her clients. And then I knew she was also a therapist after she said that. I was watching her YouTube because the way she worded it. She does her channel as a law of attraction coach, but she's also a therapeutic background. Her name is Shelley Boulard, and she mentioned this in one of her videos as well. There's a video she has that's helpful about boundaries. And she says, what do you have a big yes to and what do you have a big no to? She's basically saying it's the same thing. We used to talk about this in substance abuse counseling as well. What do you have a big yes to? What do you have a big no to? With narcissists, this works as well. So if you're struggling with narcissistic individuals or you have a pattern of narcissistic individuals, write a list. What do I say a big yes to? What do I say a big no to? Write columns next to each other and figure that out. Because when you're dating again or when you're choosing a friend, it can be friends too, you will see red flags more quickly based on those boundaries, but you have to stick to them. You have to stick to them with the Ace of Swords, focusing on what you want with a single-minded focus, and the Strength card, the masculine energy will protect you. That's the thing. If you tend to be a highly feminine energy woman, that's another thing I want to mention too. If you are very much in your feminine energy, you're going to be a target for them. You're going to be a big target for them if you don't have your masculine qualities harnessed enough to protect you. That's another thing. Manipulative individuals prey on the feminine that doesn't have the masculine to protect itself. So on a physical level, where do we see this in the world? Well, a common way that we see this in the world is when you're a woman and you're scared, like physically, because you're physically smaller after dark, walking outside because men are physically bigger, which is something some men, if you see some of these hateful YouTube channels, don't seem to understand that that's why we have feminism and we have women's rights, not because we hate men, but because of things, basic things like that, where women do not ever have the peace of mind after dark the way some men do, that they're just going to be probably robbed, as long as they're not, I will acknowledge if they're in an impoverished or very dangerous neighborhood, they could be shot. That could happen to a guy during the day or after dark. But if we're just talking any place, like a really, wealthy place or a different country or whatever, a woman always has it in the back of her mind, I have to be vigilant. That men do not understand that feeling. So that's an example that physically women always feel this vulnerability physically. And they do things like get into, self-defense courses, martial arts. That's a physical feminine versus physical masculine. But emotional feminine versus emotional masculine is what narcissists prey on. So that's a little bit different. I'm giving an analogy. So emotional feminine is being kind, giving, receptive, spiritual, talking about spirituality a lot. There's nothing wrong with that, but that can attract narcissists. Being very forgiving, nurturing. Those are good qualities. I'm not telling you guys, not your feminine energy, not to have those qualities, but you need to foster your masculine side to protect it. Because when you have all those qualities, but you don't have that, this is no, that's no, I'm going to say no to that, and you're not going to tell me that, that's masculine energy. That needs to protect the feminine. So if you find that maybe you have when I was with my narcissist and got married to him, and I don't have a lot of water in my chart. I just have a Scorpio ascendant. And Scorpio is more of a masculine energy water sign. But Virgo is a feminine sign. Although we're intellectually masculine, Virgo is one of the feminine signs. So that could have something to do with it. But what you guys have got to do, whatever sign you are, you probably have more Pisces or Cancer or something in your chart, maybe something like Libra or maybe some Virgo if you attract narcissists. But you could be any sign and attract narcissists. What you need to do is get clear on the boundaries and how you can harness masculine energy and not be afraid of it. Not feel guilty for saying no or guilty for saying, oh, I'm not going to do this, or people aren't going to tell me what to do, or they're not going to try to tell me that I did this and they didn't, or tell me it's my fault. It's not my fault. Maybe it's going to take some boosting of your self-esteem and self-confidence as well. Because I find a lot of the women on that chat line that speak to me, it's like, I almost want to call it a narcissistic chat line because it's almost always a question about a narcissist. Maybe it's some self-esteem boosting you need to do. Unicorn, like that unicorn card that I made, that to me is like the self-esteem card. Like, I'm a special unicorn. I'm unique. What's unique about me? What's great about me? It sounds cheesy, but that's what I think of when I see that card. How am I magical, right? So how can you figure that out about yourself? What are some things you can do to build your self-esteem too? Because it's not just about boundaries, but boundaries are created from somebody who has high self-esteem. Boundaries are created from high self-esteem. So until you can create healthy boundaries, the high self-esteem has to come first. So that's another thing too, as well, another tip of mine to use along with gray rock and all of that. I hope this was helpful for all of you guys. I'm just reading the comments, just a second. Well, I appreciate everybody who's come to this. I'm happy that that can help you, Catherine, and that you're going to make healthier boundaries now. Anna, I understand that too. Empaths often attract narcissists, and sometimes there's not always anything you can do about attracting them, but you can do something about keeping them out. That's the thing. You can't always pick who's attracted, whether it's friend or sexual attraction, but you can pick who you allow. So that's important. And April, I'm glad that this is going to help you with the coworkers. Hi, Melissa. Thanks for coming. So thanks everybody for coming to this video. And yeah, I hope that this has helped everybody. And I think that's all I really have to say. I think with anything, you know, whatever it is that anybody wants in their life, whether they want a friend who is going to be somebody who just goes shopping with them, or a friend who is somebody they share all their darkest secrets with, or a lover who is going to be the love of their life, or a lover who is somebody who takes care of them and they're just friends with. Whatever it is you want is okay. You don't have to necessarily want something because it's the okay thing to want. And I think that's another thing to remember too, because I notice a lot of empaths watch my channel, or people who have empathic tendencies. You want to make sure that you're not just wanting something because people told you that was the right thing to do. Want something because you want it. And that goes along with boundaries as well. Because when you're forming your boundaries, you may get to realize what type of friendships and relationships you want too. Maybe you find out after writing your boundaries down that you're not really looking for the love of your life, or you're not really looking for a friend that can go that deep with you, or maybe you are. Whatever it is, don't feel ashamed for looking for what you want. That's why I support channels like, and like I said, take her with a grain of salt, Shira 7-1. I support people like that because she gives a different alternative to women to say, well, you know what, maybe it could be this way instead. Does it always have to be about falling in love? And yeah, that's good if that's what you want, but it doesn't always have to be about that. And does it always have to be about, you know, being what people told you it should be about? Getting clear on your boundaries is going to get clear on what you also want, not just what you don't want, in other words. So thanks for watching, you guys. And if you haven't already watched people that I've mentioned in this video, another helpful one is Universe Guru. She's very hypergamous. She talks about hypergamy, but she also has, and you don't all have to want that, I'm not saying you do, but she also has videos that talk about boundaries and divine masculine, divine feminine as well. If you want to check those out, she may be helpful as well. So I will talk to you guys later. And as I said, if I promised a video is done today, it will be done today. But other people, it'll be done in the time frame I said. Go to the website if you would like to see any of my services and what I offer. All right, bye.